Hello, welcome to Are You Creative podcast. We are live from First Sight in Colchester. Let me hear First Sight. My God, Sangeeta, how did that make you feel?
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So I've got to tell our audience what Are You Creative is about. So basically, about a year and a half ago, I was talking to Sangeeta and she said she wasn't creative. So I said, we're going to find you a creative hobby by meeting loads of different creative people from around Essex. You have to be from Essex or live in Essex. That's the rules. But what really happened is I tricked Sangeeta because she does a podcast now and this is now her creative outlet.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so you are creative now, aren't you?
I think I am. I'm getting there. I still say that at every podcast, 40-odd podcasts later, I think I'm still getting there.
This is about number 50.
This is 50. Whoa, my age, yeah. I love it.
So, yeah, we've had about 50 guests. We look at loads of different people. This is only our second live one. Last one was with a stuntman. So I was hoping our guest today would come out on fire. But yeah, just wearing full orange. So it's like pretty much almost there. And should we meet our guest? You are George.
Yes, I am.
And you are from Bas Vegas.
Yeah.
Born and bred Basildon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we like to do, audience, we like to see Essex. So we've got to check the Essex passport, right, to make sure someone's from Essex. So you are from Basildon, OG.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my mum's family was literally grew up Langdon Hills, and they grew up in a wooden shack, which was a plotland, which is actually on the wall outside. As you come into the first site, there's a whole wall by Michael Landy, which talks about the history of Essex and the plotlands. So my mum actually grew up in a wooden shack, part of the plotland movement, which is all about making houses from scrap.
Wow.
And it's kind of passed down.
Well, so this was like a sort of favela vibe.
Yeah, the first actual project I worked at first I was the Michael Landy, so it felt very weird because actually it was very much my family life.
What's happened to the shack now?
It's been extended a lot and built into bricks and mortar, and weirdly, like a lot of land in the area, it's now going for like nearly £1 million.
The £1 million shack, yeah. Is that because a famous artist lives in it?
No, it's like the cusp of Thurrock, and it's always like a farmland area. So like, just the area of land around there is now ridiculous, and you've got like people with Airbnbs and saunas.
Man, I'd stay in a shack on Airbnb. That'd be good. It'd be a good vibe, wouldn't it? Everyone to show off on Instagram.
It was literally like, the garden was a forest, not like it was public forest. And as a child, we used to go out with my granddad's ferrets because they used to live off rabbits.
Oh,
and not country. Wow. So it was my nan and granddad's place, and then my mum grew up there. They used to regularly go and visit, and very much they lived off the land. And there were 6 of them living in one bedroom, I think, at one point.
Incredible.
Wow.
I like that. The pet ferrets, that's awesome. Right, I have to ask you a question before we start doing your full biography. George, are you creative?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Oh, thank God. It's a really short podcast if you're not. If you're a denier, it's like, no, okay, we'll just pack all this stuff up, go back to Chelmsford where we're based. I mean, I'm OG Colchester. It's nice to come home for me. We're actually in First Sight, the Golden Banana. Do you know that?
No, didn't.
This is like, does anyone call it the Golden Banana anymore? When it opened, they did. I like that. It's such a good name.
The press still does.
Yeah. It's better than First Sight, isn't it? Golden Banana. Sounds like an unlockable level on a computer game or something.
I didn't even actually know about First Sight until there was a show here I came to. I think it was, I forgot the name. That's so bad.
That's
Corey
right.
Archangel.
You're only the curator.
Corey Archangel. And then at the time I applied for a First Sight Bursary Award here, and that's how I came to know it. I stumbled across it purely by chance on Instagram.
Yeah,
So
there have been some amazing exhibitions here. Like Anthony Gormley did his wicked exhibition with all the tiny little men here, which I loved. You've had Ai Weiwei here, Grayson Perry, I think. Loads of amazing artists.
Tour.
And now George.
Now, George.
Yeah, this is me curating an exhibition, and yes, it feels quite weird because the bursary in 2020 was all about talking to autistic people what art meant to them. And they were talking about video games, comics. And over the past 5 years, I've worked on different projects with people. There was no intention of doing a show. Then it just, all these conversations and projects, working with a SEND school in Cornwall in a residency, and then working here, program assistant, then conversations with local organisations, then brought them together. Then we did an open call to kind of open it up to other people. There was no script around what the open call was.
Yeah.
So people felt more natural in talking about what they want to talk about, rather than saying the show's about this. We just said it's about technology that tell you a story. And then the show was shaped around that. But then I kind of told my life story through other people's artworks.
So you literally just out chatting to people anyway, and this exhibition just started forming in your mind. So what were these sort of autistic communities that you were out talking to?
So one was a former social group in Colchester, which I did the bursary with, but then we had the COVID. So it was all done online through a facilitator.
I mean, what's this bursary?
So
Is that funding for an art project?
There's a collectors group here, and they fund artists for projects. I was an artist before I worked here, and then I pitched an idea to do a project exploring art and autism. But what I pitched changed because of COVID. And then what was interesting was talking about technology, which then became very relevant because of COVID. But the life story I tell in this exhibition was about how people use technology to socialise.
Yeah.
But also how I used it to kind of get my way into working in the arts, which is a bit conventional but unconventional. Before working here, I was working in a retail supermarket on nights, 9 until 7 in the morning. And I was just like, I just want to.
Did you have a feeling like, this isn't my life?
Yeah.
Did you thought, I'm an artist and I'm trapped in here? I'm trapped here in Big Tesco, like doing the night shift.
Yeah, and then I was like, I kind of concocted a plan, and I pretended I wanted to become a journalist, and I sent in a CV to a media organisation to do an internship because they want free labour.
Yeah.
And I pitched it at the time when most people would be studying, being a student, and then I got an internship.
How did you make up? I love this because you've just hacked the system, right? How did you make up this fake CV? Did you put I wrote for the school newspaper, or was the editor of this, whatever?
It was all truthful. Everything I put on there was truthful. I just said I think I want to become a journalist, writer, which I was interested in writing. And then it was a time just before COVID when there was people were talking a lot more about inclusivity because Black Lives Matter at the time. People were talking about ableism, racism. And then I thought, given the platform, the internship I was doing, I wanted to talk about ableism in queer spaces. And then through that, I used my own art and story. And then subsequently, then people started reaching out to me. Then through that, I did some freelance projects. And then more people started approaching me. And then that's when the job here turned up. So I had all of the projects I'd work on. And then I applied for the program assistant. And then that's how...
How long have you been here now?
5 years in November next month.
Wow, congratulations.
So it feels...
So since COVID, really?
It's COVID, of course. Oh, God, yeah.
So you did a fake it till you make it, right, with your journalism thing, right? What happened when you got this journalism gig? What happened? You're writing about ableism in art?
I talked about ableism in queer spaces. Then I used my own art.
And who was that for?
I mean, I think
the magazine's over there, isn't it? I can see the magazine from here.
Gay Times magazine.
It's Gay Times. And did you just do one article, or were you working?
One article, and then other charities got in contact, then other artists, other people got in contact with me to talk about their experiences, which is interesting because that wasn't my intention, but people cling to what's familiar.
So it naturally kind of happened.
Yeah, and then...
Did you come up with a pseudonym to write under?
No,
You didn't create a whole mystery identity?
It was, I guess... masking to fit in because the art world is still relationship based. You have to, autistic people mask more than those who aren't autistic.
Yeah.
But everyone does perform in society.
Can we, I think because a lot of people probably wouldn't have heard about masking before. You know, I hadn't heard about masking till about 2 years ago. What is masking in an autistic context?
I think it means different things to different people. You analyse people's body language around you, then you perform it to then fit in. To me, art isn't necessarily about making. I should say, I stumbled across art And I would go to the National Gallery between hospital appointments as a child. I remember going to the National Gallery and looking at Homo Russo, which was completely, the tiger in the jungle.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, with the rain, tropical storm.
And that's all made up. He never saw the scene. He completely imagined it and painted it. But there's also a Caravaggio painting. And I remember studying them and thinking that's what human emotions are. So to me, I would study paintings to replicate emotions, and that's how I would navigate spaces. So art
So were you
functional.
when you were thinking about masking, were you like, I'm going to employ Caravaggio at this point, or I'm going to do Titian now, or whatever? And you think like, these are these emotions that I've seen, but you were using like these paintings, like the National Gallery was like your palette of masking. that you do.
And also it's weird being in the adulthood room, because when I was at art school, again, it was like to get into the art, you need to know people. Artists get represented through being recommended by other artists.
Right.
It's a relationship based, it's status based, being commercialized. Artists will get shown because they know curators, vice versa. And I didn't find art school that accessible. I struggled with the social side. So I would then, when I left art school, that was when I was working at Tesco on nights. Then I thought I wasn't being stimulated. So I'd use dating sites to meet men who were very knowledgeable in art history, who would then teach me about art history and skills around data analysis.
Hang on, right? This is crazy, right? So you basically were like, okay, I'm going to use the internet to, this is like going to the Matrix, like teach me kung fu, right? But it's like teach me art, and you were finding artists on Grindr.
No, like basically, like they weren't artists. They were just people who were like, I don't like the term well educated, because I think that is quite class. I can't say the word classist.
Yeah.
But they would teach me about art history, and then through here, I think you can then subvert art history.
Were you looking in the background of people's Grindr pictures for original oil paintings?
This was.
Are you an artist?
I would use Plenty of Fish because it was more used by people in their 30s and 40s.
Right.
And I could tailor the profile to fit. I would use images of paintings because then that would communicate to somebody else.
Yeah.
That was art. And then you then find a way to meet other people who had similar interests. I think for me, it was like a social story. So a social story is something that people with a learning disability or neurodivergence will use when they go to a new building to make them feel less anxious because they know what they're going into. So dating sites are good because you know who you're meeting already, some interest, and you can talk about it. Yeah. And I realised I could use that as a way to meet people to then improve my communication and education skills in a way that I don't think art schools are good at. They don't teach you that the business side or the development as an artist, where I could meet people and they would critique my artwork and then I would learn that way. And it felt more accessible to me because it was one-on-one conversation rather than being in a group environment.
So how upfront, like on a dating website, if you're on Brilliantly Fish, like you've almost got this social contract, right? I'm here for and also to talk about the Renaissance art or whatever. Could you be quite honest with people?
I would just say I'm interested in meeting people and talking about art, and this is what I do, and these are my passions. Just be transparent about it. And then I used to work from like Thursday to Monday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday I'll travel up to London, and I'd stay overnight somewhere.
Wow. Just to see these.
Yeah, people, and then they
dates.
pay for my exhibition tickets, books, and all of this. I guess it sounds a bit hedonistic as well, but yeah, they'd pay for my transfer up to London.
That's quite creative.
Do you know what? I think this is going to make such a good autobiography at some point. I think it's incredible. Like, going taking around exhibitions, learning, and have some of these contacts been useful for you in your art career as well?
No, because none of them worked in the arts. I think people would assume they got me a job. They didn't. They just give you a language to talk about something.
Right.
And they would help me develop skills. There was like mentors. There's a Caravaggio, and there's a film called Postcards from London, which is a film about a guy played by, is his name Dick Harrison? Is that his name? Harris Dickinson or something.
I don't know.
I might have got her name wrong. Sorry.
Wikipedia will look it up later and fill it in.
He wanted to become an actor, and he's from an Essex suburbia. He wanted to become an actor. He then went to London, and in the film he becomes a male escort, and in that situation, the escorts tell him to look at Caravaggio paintings to learn how to perform in front of people. And then really there's a correlation between how I used to go as a child, look at paintings, because I would perform masks.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of navigated.
So did it turn out you knew a lot more about the paintings than the people you were meeting up with?
Sometimes. But I like to be in environments where I'm learning, otherwise I don't feel there's any stimulation.
Yeah. Did you, I mean, I suppose, like everyone, even like neurotypical people feel imposter syndrome, right? So like a lot of the time, like, I suppose, you might be in a situation and you might feel like you got to fake it till you make it, but art's all about hype and like a bit of bullshit and
anyone can become an artist, but not everyone can show their art.
Okay.
But someone can make art in their home, but not everyone gets to show their art because of the power dynamics in the art world. And that's something that I'm interested in exploring, how we can change that.
Do you think there's like a bit of an overwhelming ableism in the art world? Because the reason why you came on my radar, this is really interesting. My mate Dave at university, I can't remember his surname, but he was in a wheelchair, he was quadriplegic, and he used to paint paintings and he'd hang them right at the top of the walls in galleries, like he was looking down on the audience, which I absolutely loved. And then I came to your exhibition at Chelmsford Museum, and you had all your paintings hung right at the bottom of the wall, so that the wheelchair users could actually have accessibility to the art. And I thought, that is genius. I've never seen that before. Like that level of consideration gone into accessibility.
Well, I feel like people also neglect children in galleries.
You're amazing, George.
But everyone's like, I think it's interesting. There was a one show I did with Lucy Harwood here, where I was showing things down on the floor, things higher up. And someone was saying, oh, you aren't hanging things at my eye level. But I was like, that's because you have people who are short, you have children as well. Yeah. It's just because you're not navigating their experience going through a gallery. That I find feedback really interesting because it's always relevant to the landscape that you're in socially. There's a lot of hierarchy in when you're in conversation with artists want to present their work in a certain way, and sometimes that can impact on accessibility for people from different backgrounds. And it's always a conversation when you work with people on an exhibition. I don't think you can have an exhibition that's fully accessible. For example, we could have the lights in here quite low down for people who are autistic. Yeah. But for someone who's got visual impairment, that creates a barrier too. So there's a lot of negotiation and changing an exhibition, and how can you do something different for different people.
And I love it here because you've got the Makaton sign language as well and you've got sort of tactile things as well around. So and you've got scannable QR codes with audio as well. So this is probably like the most accessible exhibition I've ever seen.
I mean, I tried to make it as accessible as possible, and it came about through, I did a residency in Cornwall in 2022 or 21, which got pushed back because of COVID. And then I did a project with a SN school, and I essentially became a resident artist there. And I'd go into the school nearly every day. I'd play football with them, talk about news round, debate politics, which probably people would not assume people with learning disabilities would do, because there's a lot of assumptions and stigma. And I thought, if they design a school in this way, why aren't we designing art galleries like this as well? So I decided I wanted to put through conversations with them, use mind maps that helps people with learning disabilities or ADHD, autism, Makaton signs, tactile objects and artworks. Because again, when you work in museums, there's a protocol that you have to preserve an artwork. Yeah. Therefore, you have it in a cabinet. Whereas I would argue we should more be around engagement rather than preservation. So there's always that dynamic in a museum, whereas first it doesn't have a collection. So in this situation, I thought, how can we have some artworks you can touch? Yeah. So I'm interested in how you can navigate all of that through conversations with people.
I love touching art. I think it's really strange to be able to go to a gallery and actually touch some of the artworks.
Well, that's why I also did sensory panels to replicate the materials in the artworks. And the next thing I want to do is working with a designer she could smell an artwork. Like,
Yeah.
is there a way to replicate the smell of an artwork? Someone did it at Compton Verney, which is a gallery near Coventry. And you go into this gallery and the paintings are on the wall and they've replicated the sounds of the paintings and the smells of it. So it's really immersive and it completely changes your perception of the art.
Yeah.
But I would also like to work with a design where you can do a 3D scan of an artwork. Like, for example, at the back, there's the arms of a photograph by Sam Morris, who's an autistic artist. Is there a way that we can do a digital scan of the painting, make it as a 3D relief that you can touch?
Or like a Ron Murex sort of big arm with some hairs on it and stuff. Yeah, wow, it'd be incredible. I went to an exhibition where you could smell stuff. It was about poo in Holland. It was really good. It was called Poo is Good, and they had loads of
Was it actually real poo?
Yeah, it was real poo, different animals' poos and things like that. It was fun. It was very tactile as well. It was a fun exhibition. That
Don't get any ideas.
poop. I think I smelt a rhino poo. It was good, but now I know. Like if I'm ever in the savannah,
There's,
smells like rhino.
there's the artist Chris Philly who uses elephant dung.
Yeah.
And he makes artworks exploring black British culture, and he used elephant dung to rest his paintings on.
Oh, wow.
And he was talking about like stereotypes as well. And I remember that was an artwork there's an artwork called No Woman, No Cry, which was a painting of Stephen Lawrence.
Yeah.
And there's only two artworks that have had a profound impact on me, which was Chris Philly's portrait of Stephen Lawrence, and it's got dotted lines and collages of Stephen Lawrence, and it's a portrait of his mother crying. And I can remember, I can't associate with what it was about, but it really moved me because it was all about grief.
Yeah.
I think it was the time when my nana died. So I think there was maybe association with that, but that really profoundly impacted on me. I thought, oh my gosh, you can do this with art. You can really communicate something.
I never really thought about that. Well, I'm autistic as well, and Sangeeta, you're in an autism sandwich. Sorry,
I'm all good.
But I never thought about the way you experience art. Different, as someone that's neurodivergent, that you might have different emotional reactions to things. I mean, I have trouble with empathy, so maybe I don't get like that emotions, but still, I could stand in front of a massive Hockney, painting and be transported away to the woods and seasons and feel those things. Maybe just not so much on the human paintings. I don't know.
I feel some things I really connect with are works that explore grief and pain a lot. I guess it's probably from similar life experiences around grief, and that art's functional were also quite expressive to me. As talked about, I studied paintings for masking, but also it's expressive too. So it's different reasons for me, and why I came into art was because I was a patient at Great Ormond Street Hospital, and they had an art therapy program on the time in the wards. That's how I came into art.
And they had art therapy. So how old were you there when you were there?
I think maybe around about 1 year old.
1 year. I mean, this is amazing. This is your origin story, right? So, and then how old do you think you were when they were doing art therapy? Were you like finger painting and stuff, and you just got like
it was at the time, I think, I'm not sure the exact timings, but they were exploring art therapy on the wards, and they've developed into a really good program. It's called Gosh Arts. I think it might have been renamed already.
Gosh, it's good. Great Ormond Street Hospital.
Yeah. It's one of the most famous children's hospitals.
Yeah.
It's why also I should say I have an obsession with Peter Pan, because those who know the story around Peter Pan, it was a book where the royalties were given to Great Ormond Street Hospital.
Yeah.
But also there's, in the film Hook, there's a scene where Wendy is a patron of the hospital. So I get quite emotional around that film because it's my association with art, but also why I went into working in the arts.
But you were in Great Ormond Street for a long time?
Up until 16 years old. But then eventually I was just an outpatient.
But art therapy was that a constant throughout that time?
No, I guess it's more of something I did there, not like I was a inpatient. There's the term inpatient, and then some people would go to hospital school, but I didn't do that. And whilst I was doing art therapy, my dad, none of my family are really artistic. And we was like, how did we waste time between the hospital appointments? So we went to the National Gallery, and I stumbled across art in that way. And then I got obsessed with it.
Brilliant. That's when you saw Russo's Tiger in a Tropical Storm.
Yeah, and I just thought that's when I could then, it felt like a language because I don't think I was conscious of it at the time, but you could fake things in a painting or communicate something.
Yeah.
And I think it's really powerful, but also it can be expressive for some people in an emotional way. So it has two different purposes for me. And that's why in this exhibition, it's maybe emotional, but it's also I'm telling a story through how art has been functional to me, wherever it's been, to learn about human emotions or communicating with people online, or like I did with dating sites to use that to meet people who had a similar interest to me.
So, you've done all that art therapy stuff. What stage in your life do you think you actually started to consider yourself thinking, hey, actually, I'm an artist. I can do this. This is what I am.
I don't know. I don't.
Have you even got there yet?
He has, because he had an exhibition at Chelmsford Museum.
Yeah, but
which I saw, and I wrote down his name, and I was like, I want to talk to this guy.
Yeah, people always go, you are an artist, but
That's what I'm saying. Like, do you feel it? Like, are you still like? When you look around, do you just look at it and go, "Oh my God, I did this"?
I think
Has it sunk in yet?
there's imposter syndrome. And I think you have to have a thick skin in the art world because it's so subjective and opinionated. I think the first time I felt, oh my gosh, was when I had my work acquired at Southend Museum.
Wow.
When I was 21, I think.
So hang on. So to getting your work acquired, that's like someone's buying your work for a permanent collection?
I donated it to them because I had a solo show there. I should really backtrack a bit. Right, when I left art school, by chance, the curators at Turner Contemporary came to visit the art school, Canterbury, UCA, and I heard people were like, "Oh my God, the curators at Turner Contemporary," and I was a bit like, I was actually ill. I had flu. Yeah. I was in bed, and I thought, this is my only chance. I dragged myself out.
The curators are coming.
Yeah. And I ran into the gallery because we had a degree show on, and I sat by my work pretending to kind of finish off. And then they came in, and then they started talking to me, and then I just started talking about my work. Yeah. And then next minute, I then got an invitation to apply for this award to be shown at Turner Contemporary.
Wow.
And then I pitched a project to Southend Museum, and they jumped at it.
Where is the Turner Contemporary?
Margate.
Oh, no, you have been there. That's really cool. It's such a amazing. So you actually had a painting on the wall there.
So there were sculptures on the show. They were exploring. I was obsessed with this painting called "Boys Blowing Up Bladders," and it was. I don't know why. I think there's something about Victorian painters of youth where they make them up to look like adults. And I felt quite vulnerable at that time because there was a lot of, when I was at art school, there was a lot of stories around queer people being killed at the time, like the Grinder Killer story.
Yeah.
And that was in Barking in Essex.
That's right, yeah.
And there was loads of advice going out in universities, but it wasn't that helpful because there was still a lot of homophobia at the time. And whilst that was going on, I think I was just replicating some of the paintings in a sculptural form. And then when I pitched a project to Southend Museum, I then responded to their collection of all representations of men. And then I made a painting it was a self-portrait about that vulnerability around how you try to find acceptance in some spaces, but that can be dangerous as well. And I think it was my anxiety around this news stories coming out at the time. And the fact that the guy that was jailed was actually from Southend, but it happened in Barking, I think. So I made a painting, and as part of the exhibition, there was another painting I did, which was about stoic men growing up in Basildon, because my mum's side of the family are very stoic.
Yeah.
Very much they drink cans of Foster. Every second word is a swear word. There's no emotion at all.
Talk to the ferrets.
Yeah, they have white trainers because that's their way to show off we've now got money. Yeah. Because white cars, white vans and white trainers mean, when they're really clean, it means you can afford something new. Yeah. And I then decided I wanted to paint a portrait of this kind of man crying inside through body image disorder. And that was the work that was then acquired by Southern Museum at the time. And then through those freelance projects, managing exhibitions and liaising with museums, I then applied for the assistant job here. And that's how I started here, really.
I love George. Like, you know, like you started off, you came in here really humble, be like, oh, I'm not really an artist. And then now we're finding out all these amazing things about you. I'm a bit in awe, actually.
Yeah, I'm
like that, especially
absolutely.
the Turner contemporary things and that as well. And it's interesting. You're saying about the South End one, like you put yourself in the art, right? And that's like when I came to the Chelmsford Museum one, I loved the ones that you had yourself in the art, photo montage and stuff. And now you've got a whole exhibition, which is pretty much about you as well. It's a quite autobiographical exhibition as well.
Yeah, someone said I'm using my biography, but it's through conversations with other people and it's interwoven through.
Is that your way of relating to those conversations?
It's a very neurodivergent.
Yeah.
It's a very neurodivergent thing that you relate to people, and you have this conversation goes back and forth. So it's that I wanted to show it in that form because that's how not all of us, some experience that. So I thought that's the way to present the exhibition.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. So, you know, obviously I've been to loads of exhibitions by a single artist, but not someone that's told their whole story through their curation of other things. I mean, just in fact, we're in the Grinder room right now, aren't we?
Exactly.
So we're actually recording this podcast in this room, which is I mean, I don't know what colours Grinder are. What is this? The Grinder app colours on the walls?
Yeah, I matched the codes of the logo to paint the room.
Oh, wow.
Which is great. I mean, I love this. This is the final boss room, right?
It's like only people, well, not only people, some people who from different communities will recognise it. So I took a friend around the other day. So the first room, which is so goes childhood, teenage years to adulthood. First room is the greys matched to Dell computers. Is it called a shell?
Yeah. So like what really early computers,
Yeah.
like the old PCs.
So I was like, that's the family computer. Then you go into teenage years, which is where I learned about autism through Tumblr. Autism acceptance colour is red. Then it goes into disability, which is purple. Then the last room, which is Grinder, to represent kind of autonomy when you become an adult.
Yeah.
And autonomy. And I took a friend around a couple of days ago, and he instantly recognised the colours in here.
Fantastic.
what a big win. That's amazing.
That's
And
the
he
one.
didn't see himself as being artistic or creative, but then he instantly related to most things in here.
Everything here. Yeah.
That's kind of it. And I think that's what's important is like how can everyone wants to see himself reflected in a museum collection or an art gallery. And this room was about me relocating to Colchester. And I feel quite vulnerable in this room because I'm talked about quite a lot of, maybe overshared a bit, which is a very neurodivergent thing. I talked about, so there's a period in my life which had quite a profound effect on me when my mum nearly died twice. And then I kind of like went off the rails a bit about going too detailed. And then I wanted to kind of talk about vulnerabilities. I didn't want to perform. I wanted to tell something quite raw, which is why in the labels I talk about my interpretation of the artwork or first person language rather than talk about what the artwork is.
Yeah.
So there's the works by Belshaw, which talks about ADHD and addiction and how when I was a student, I struggled to academically did really well. But the transition to being going to school to university is hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you're autistic, you can struggle. I didn't really, until second year, find any friends. And then I developed unhealthy kind of relationships with, to self-medicate, so to speak, to fit in, which is what is kind of, that's the story around how a lot of people get diagnosed.
And this is an ADHD thing.
ADHD and autistic thing. And
So how do people get diagnosed a lot with that sort of self-medication?
I actually got diagnosed autistic on my birthday.
Really? So you were talking
What a
about you were talking about Tumblr. I wanted to talk about this anyway. When you got diagnosed as autistic, how old were you?
19 or I was either 9. I was 20 years old.
Wow.
But like my mum always said she knew before that.
Yeah.
But it was never really something that was talked about. I'd always used to hide under the table when there was a family party. I used to have meltdowns at school. I was hide in the toilet.
So that was really hard because you've coped with this condition all these years up until 20 without anyone actually.
Because you mask,
label it.
you
Right,
hide it.
Yeah.
And then when I went to university, art school, couldn't, because it was a complete different situation. I had no friends at that point.
Yeah.
Because you moved to a new location. I chose Canterbury because it was more, I could live on the campus. I also have something that can affect my mobility sometimes. So I couldn't travel to London to go on a train. And I thought, if I'm doing art, I want to be immersed in it. So I chose Canterbury, and then I had a studio on campus. I was in there from 8 a.m. to 8 o'clock at night. And then,
Is that what time it was open?
yeah, and
Yeah,
then
they have to kick you out.
that's why I always say to people, you should always become friends with the cleaners and the caretakers. Also, they used to be 24-hour security caretakers, and then I then struck up a friendship with them because they would see me walking the streets at 2 or 3 in the morning. Because it's when I was most active, and then I used to make work about what I'd see around me. And then when I got so at the end of doing my degree, I then got a scholarship from a guy called Darren Henley, which I can't talk about because I talk about it publicly. He then went off. He was at the time working at, I think, Classical FM as the director. I'm not sure the job title, might be wrong.
Yeah.
And then I applied for the scholarship. They asked me to stay to do the MA because I thought the only way I could do an MA was to stay and get a discount. And then I got a discount there to stay there. And then I got the scholarship. He then went on to become the CEO of Arts Council England.
Amazing. That's great.
Oh my God.
And he was almost your patron at that time then.
And like, is that what you'd say, a scholarship? He gave me some money, and then
He gave you the nod. He was like, yeah, well, this is a good guy.
but he
It's
doesn't decide who gets it. He just donates it to the art school, and then I'm not sure how it works. There's people there. They decide, and then I said what I wanted to do with it. I have ambition to do a museum show, and I applied for it and got it. Then I thought I'd stay here now because I can afford to actually do an MA.
Yeah.
And then weirdly, 2 days ago, I took him on a tour of the exhibition.
Incredible.
So he's now seen what I've done as a result of the scholarship.
That's just fantastic.
And what was his reaction? Did he love it?
Yeah.
Yeah? He must have been so proud. It must be amazing, like when you've mentored someone and then you get to come, finally, and here we are in the grinder room. Yeah. but to see this whole exhibition come from that, he's part of that journey, your origin story.
Yeah,
in fact, you've got those mind maps, haven't you, where you've got your trail through your
I find
life.
it quite interesting trying to be professional, talking to someone quite high up about the exhibition and some of the themes which are quite adult in nature.
Yeah.
But he was so engaged, and he kind of asked me a lot of questions. And also I was talking about the fact that some of the shows I'm doing now are attracting, it creates reactions from both people on right and left kind of political spectrum.
Yeah, shows you're doing something right. Like if everyone's reacting to it.
I wanted to kind of talk about the power dynamics that exists in queer space as well, because Grindr's it's a public platform, but it's also private.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in how, like when I was a student, a lot of the gay bars it wasn't something I could just go to because for various different reasons, they weren't inclusive. I couldn't navigate them for social reasons, also physically sometimes. And then when I relocated to Colchester, like can you make friends, which was through dating sites. But then sometimes you look for approval and acceptance because there's a fear of rejection, but sometimes you can experience a lot of ableism, and it's often behind closed doors, whereas publicly we like to seem we're quite inclusive. And this happens in
the gay community, yeah.
Like we're quite comfortable to wave a flag down the street sometimes. And these problems exist everywhere in society, everywhere.
Sangeeta's eyes are lighting up now. She's
we're in
we're in her real house.
And like I just find it. I found it interesting when I was doing this exhibition, making my mind maps at 3 a.m, because I struggle to write, so I make mind maps. That's my way of writing a gallery label, and then I just had to write all this stuff down because I wanted to talk about quite difficult subjects, but in a non-identifiable way. I generalised it. I said, actually, there's been times when someone's used this ableist language to describe me because they didn't understand when I would stim in front of them.
Yeah.
Or my facial expressions wouldn't match what I'm thinking. And there was times of people who were quite publicly would have inclusive nature about them, but actually I've experienced the opposite. So I thought, how can I talk about this in a way that was educational, but I don't like shaming people. I don't think that's right. It doesn't really create a nice, healthy environment. So I thought I'd show it through the art because I think it's a good way to talk about these kind of conversations. And the feedback's been really interesting. I think nearly a quarter have been LGBT people who attend the show, and more so people who identify as, I think, pansexual, bisexual, queer. But I think it's because autistic people are more likely to identify as that rather than being like a gay man, essentially. But also think it's about questioning the power dynamics in spaces and who's had that control in those spaces. Because outside you can be like, you're a minority, but then when you go into that space, you're then the majority. But I often find I sometimes think we are obsessed with identity, and I don't like segregation. When I was in the SEND school, and I've got a friend who I befriended when I was down in Cornwall, the council were forcing her to go to be a student in a SEND school, and her mum and her didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a not correlation, but if you're in a SEND school and you're a mainstream school, which I don't like those labels really.
So SEN is special educational needs, is it?
Yeah, and then mainstream, which they say is when, like, not SEN. Yeah. And I didn't understand why, like, in this room, that's why I wanted to use Makaton.
Yeah.
Because if we had inclusive sex education, why do we not use sign language or Makaton for people who aren't disabled to talk about consent? And whereas in a SEND school, you're more likely to have a conversation using that language. Yeah. Really, the two should cross over.
They should cross over, absolutely.
This is when this exhibition, I didn't want to just show artists who were just disabled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I don't personally like being pigeonholed.
Yep.
But that's because, but I understand why some people would argue that they do want to be mainly in a show around disabled artists because they haven't necessarily been shown. But I've, as an artist and curator, whatever, I have benefited from identity art. This whole show talks about identity.
This is you.
This is you.
This is you.
Probably actually a lot of other people. So as much as you say that, you know what, yes, I've benefited and I get that because this is you, this is your platform, there's going to be lots of people that will look around. They will read this stuff and they are not as vocal as you because they're not ready. They're not at that level as yet. But reading some of the bits around it, you then get to think, oh my God, there's a bit of me there. And oh my God, this is actually all right, the way I'm feeling. I can read this now. Because even today, as I've gone around looking at the exhibition, now, number one, I want to say congratulations. Absolutely amazing.
Yes.
I love the fact that everything is in your face, so to speak. I'm a bit of a rebel like that. And I love the fact that, like, some of the pictures that I've seen, and even this particular one that I was reading earlier, I just loved learning more about, like, kind of the non-binary and all of that kind of stuff, because this is something all that's new to me. Yeah, gay, fine, LGBT, fine, but there's all these new bits that are coming out that I'm really not aware of, and sometimes I don't have the confidence to ask because I feel like I might offend, and that's just how it is when you're part of one of those isms. But through your exhibition today, just in those couple of hours I've been here, I've learned so much.
Yeah, I learned about the disability pride flag. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
So I stumbled, again, Tumblr. I stumbled across those flags on Tumblr. And some of those flags, in conversation with people, they talked about those flags as well. And it's interesting when you go to some Pride events, you don't see those flags.
Yeah. And this is like it's like a Mobius, isn't it? It's like the infinity sign with the
that
rainbow
means
going around.
it's is it a Greek? It's affinity symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's about the spectrum, about the multiple possibilities. And it's also how I see myself in kind of, I think as I'm getting older, I'm learning more about myself.
Right.
And I don't experience romance or necessarily attraction towards people in that way. And it's kind of hard to articulate sometimes, but I experience deep platonic towards people.
Felt through that.
Yeah, I
felt that.
don't experience really sexual attraction in that way or romantic attraction. I like it's just platonicness I have towards people around me. And I always felt looking at queer media, it was always about the desire of the body. And I felt like if you were disabled, you were only relevant when it was now, or before you were never included. But now it's like you're only relevant for Disability Pride Month.
Yeah.
And it felt like if you're either sometimes, but it's not now. And some people talk about you can either be rejected or you're fetishized.
Yeah.
Because of your body. When I was at art school, I'd have people say to me, I really want to paint you. I really want to take photos of you because I was born with scoliosis and a twisted body. So people would fetishize me and say they wanted me as a subject matter.
And then figure painting. And stuff,
because it was I was different.
Like some sort of Victorian cabinet of curiosity.
Yeah, exactly. And then I thought, when I was growing up, I didn't really identify with a lot of pictures of what people see as desirable. And I kind of struggled with that. And I wanted, in this exhibition, to talk about how some people are asexual.
Yes.
And to people, like physical intimacy doesn't often mean what it means to other people.
Yes.
It can mean, like for me, sometimes it's stimming. How to explain it?
Just for our listeners, like stimming's like, is it strictly autistic, or is do other people do it? So when you're doing stuff with your hands, like fiddling around with things.
Like most people do it, but a lot of people do it right reason that it's like you can bite your nails. But people who are more who are neurodivergent will do it more so and more intensely and in other ways. And to me, physical intimacy is more around that rather than it being a kind of romantic thing.
It's like investigating someone else.
Like I don't experience it in that way. And it's through meeting other people. Some of my friends from art school have the same experience. And I think that's probably why we became friends.
Yeah.
And we never felt necessarily included in spaces that we were trying to feel included in. So our friendship was based on being on the fringes of that.
Loads of this is based on the technology that's come out from Essex, right? Which is amazing because you've got a through line from, I call him Gary Macaroni, Eduardo Marconi, coming over inventing the radio, all the way through to Grindr, right? But there's been these amazing things that have happened in Essex, technology-wise.
So, gosh, I'm trying to think where else the interest was. Learning the radio had been developed in Essex and also Cornwall, which again, working with the students. When I was down there in the classroom, they had a display around electricity. A lot of people don't know electricity, the word derived in Colchester.
How did that
William
happen?
Gilbert. There's, I think I might be wrong about this now. Someone's going to say, no, this is wrong. William Gilbert had done experiments on magnetism, and that was where the term electricus and electricity came from in 1600. And then radio by Marconi in Chelmsford, and the broadcast, which was done from Cornwall to Newfoundland, fibre optics in Harlow. And then you had one of the first video games, Mud, which was invented at Essex University in the 70s.
What is Mud? What is this game, Mud?
So Mud is a text-based video game that people used to play as students at the university, and they would contact each other on this satellite internet system. And it was scenario-based. It was all text-based, not visual. And so it was there's a mind map out there tracing how all of this has led to what we use today. You know, phone signals are just free. It's GPS, which is free radio signals, I think.
Right.
So if it wasn't for radio, electricity, you wouldn't have all of the technology today. And I talk about through narrating the stories about growing up online under that technology and the impact, but also the benefits of it.
What I love, because I think I can vaguely remember this, but I wasn't around for it. The exhibition's called Voyager, right? And this is like a British Telecoms as a trial of like these internet TVs. Right? So Essex and Suffolk were the first places to have internet TVs.
Yeah, so Voyager 2000 was a interactive TV system developed by BT and Apple in 94. But I stumbled across it in a magazine article, which I bought on eBay.
Yeah.
And then it was trialled in Colchester schools and Ipswich schools and homes, which allowed people to go on the internet, play video games, educational, and do shopping and online shopping banking. And I was interested in that today's led to smart TVs.
Yeah.
And I thought that's why we use smartphones today, because we can do all of that now. And it's like precursor for all of that.
Amazing. On your telly, can you imagine on your old cathode ray TV trying to buy stuff? I wonder what stuff you could buy through your TV.
But it's like, it's how you can make sometimes a future through technology.
Yeah.
The title World Being a Wonder was, I wanted to riff off of the fact that technology impacts us in our well-being.
Yes.
But that's why I use the word well-being and wonder, because through tech, I've made friends. I've learnt about myself. I've got a career in the arts, started to. And I've then also commenting that in the art world, using well-being, riffing off of well-being, there is an obsession with well-being in the arts now. But I think that's the same in a kind of non-biased way. Working in a gallery, I sometimes think it's like politics and state around who has the responsibility to look after people. There are benefits to the art. I grew up in a hospital. Art had a lot of benefits to me, but sometimes I think it often can pigeonhole some artists to make their work all about well-being.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of benefits to now. I do agree, because it's benefits to me in social circumstances. And, I had art therapy when I was at my late teens as well, and psychotherapy through art. So it's helped me a lot. But I'm also well aware of the cliches of it too, which is why I talk about in the intro panel that actually I've benefited from all of this.
Yeah.
But it's also, I feel like I'm a cliche now because it's so relevant now.
Yeah.
Now, and it wasn't relevant as such 20 years ago. But now I think, is that the reason why I've done really well? Not it's a bit.
You're in the Turner Contemporary.
Like, is that where I am now? Because have I become a cliche, so to speak?
No.
I don't think so.
No, your work is phenomenal. You
Do you
can
know-
see it's from the heart.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a tick box.
Do you think like anyone's come around this exhibition and had an epiphany and think like, do you know what? I think I might be autistic.
I don't know. There has been.
I discovered I was autistic when I went to an art talk once. So art, I think it's a bit like the sorting hat, in Harry Potter. You can sort of start like, autistic people can start recognising other autistic people. But I went to this thing and it was Lou Williams, who does the Girls In from Southend, who's brilliant. She was talking about her process and I thought like, oh, that sounds like how I think. And then I started looking, I had a chat with her and then I started looking into it. But it's really weird. I was 47 and I never even considered that. And then just to be at a thing and then have that sort of revelation.
We connected online because we both have orange.
Yeah, there you go. It's amazing.
Again, two autistics connecting through colour.
Wow.
That's how the algorithm works.
Yeah.
On Instagram, and it's really beneficial. Like, you can meet people like yourself. But like, a lot of people think the association with orange for me is because I'm from Essex, but it's not. History around it.
Essex is white, no? White stilettos?
Oh, that is incredible. I hadn't even thought about that.
But they could associate with fake tan. So people used to think I was dressed in orange for that reason, but it was because my mum would dress me and my siblings in yellow and orange. And then when I was a teenager, I rebelled against it because she wanted to be able to spot us in the crowd because there's 5 of us running around and shopping.
See that? I love that.
And then I rebelled against it. That's what teenagers do. And then when I was 16 or 17, I was doing an art project on my A-levels, studying my nan. It was a really intense project, and then she died during the project. She never got to see the end, what the work I made. And I kind of went through. It was the first loss that really had an impact on me, my nan, because I was so close to her. And then I opened up this drawer, and there was a picture of me and my siblings, and I was smiling.
Yeah.
And I was wearing orange head to toe. An obsession.
Was your mum autistic as well?
I'd say there's quite a few people on my dad's side of the family that are, but I won't say who. But yeah, a lot of them are, I'd say, on the spectrum, and some I know they are. I've got quite a few cousins who are.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in how people communicate in different ways, and how, like, out there's a work by an artist called S who attends Holiday Fund program.
Yeah.
We mostly communicate through talking about colours and video games and animals on their mobile phone. And the reason why Holiday Fund is a program for people who experience barriers around art or financial. So during the holidays, they can come and do free art activities and make art and be provided food. And there's an artist who was in the space exhibition I did put together last year. He made loads of air clay models, and his mum took some pictures and sent them in about what this work was, and that's how he was included in the space show. Then he sent in a proposal for the open call around making this work around we supported him to talk to us what he wanted to make, and he said about this video game console, and so he pitched to make this the Nintendo Wii, because that's how he researches about arts, video games and research subject matter and animals. So when I was meeting with him and the team, we would communicate through that. And then I remember he turned up with a shopping bag with the model in it, wrapped up. And I didn't know what to expect. And he got it out, unwrapped the tissue paper, and then showed me, and I just burst out crying.
That is incredible. And I've got to say, it's one of the standout pieces of the exhibition, I think. It's really, really amazing. I love how all the characters are done on it as well.
But you wouldn't see that in the Tate Gallery.
No.
Because it's who gets to say what art is and isn't.
Yeah, well, there's an honesty to that, isn't there, as well? Like, sort of the art brute thing of, not having any reference of art really, and creating for the joy of creation as well.
It was like, I think that's about what we're trying to do here. And what I want to support is creating different pathways for people to become an artist, and removing some of those barriers. I mean, the barriers will always change because society always changes. And as I say, like, I got money from someone to go and study, but that just allowed me to skip a barrier.
Yeah.
Those barriers did exist. And financially, but I was allowed to just skip a barrier. So I'm conscious that, I've been given opportunity because of that.
May not get,
So it's important that I want to kind of help other people and mix immersion artists with more established artists.
Yeah, brilliant.
That is a
great approach. We've got to wrap up now, Sangeeta.
No.
Because we've gone on for ages. We're going to have a Q&A afterwards as well. Okay. What do you think of the exhibition? I thought it was amazing.
Oh, listen, I just said it. I'm not creative, as you guys all know. However, I really, really enjoyed this. I enjoyed reading everything. I just felt like I got to know you a lot more.
It's funny, isn't it? Before talking to a guest, feeling like you know him so much.
Yeah, because that's weird. Because normally when we do this, I don't get to know the guest. I have to kind of, on the day, I meet them fresh and I have to guess who they are, what they do. So this was quite different for me because I got to see your work. My personal opinion is I don't think there's enough representation of, because I'm very much of the isms. I really am an advocate for recognising stuff. So I don't believe that there is enough representation. And even after hearing George's story, you can hear that it's still nerve-wracking. Oh my God, am I doing, like, I'm breaking some boundaries here. These are things that have not been done before. Should I be doing this? But actually, there's a whole group of people out there that need this to be able to identify. So are we represented that clearly? Definitely not. Has it got better? Maybe over the years, yes. Have we got a long way to go still? Definitely. And that's only going to happen when people like George, like yourselves, get the confidence to come out, speak, promote, and be real. Because that's one of the things I will take like, you know, for me, I felt if I needed to describe this, it felt very real. Like I learned a lot.
It feels like this exhibition's beyond tokenism, though. You know, like
that's the thing. It's beyond tokenism.
A lot of places could have
Could be
a tick box, right? But
you've not made this a tick box, so it may
I've
be
had
a
it in the
tick
past
box.
where I've been approached for that.
No, but that's what I'm trying. I guess what I'm trying to say is, look, the people that we can't control, people with money, people that commission us, our bosses, people that own the buildings, we can't control that. So for them, yes, we are a tick box. Oh, look, we've got the brown girl in the room. Yeah, tick. We've got the autistic guy in the room. Tick. We've got someone from that community. Tick. So for them, that's the tick. But for us, that's not the tick. For us, the tick is, oh my God, my thoughts are out now. They're in a space. Tick. I never thought I'd be brave enough to share my journey with other people. Tick. There are people that are not judging me and they're understanding me. Tick. So we're getting there, and that's why we need people like you.
Hang on, I think that's a Sangeeta mic drop.
Sorry, was that a bit too deep? I'll get a bit deep. Sorry, Joe.
I think that was it, Sangeeta.
Sorry, did I kill it?
We got to stop. We got to stop there. That was so
Sorry.
good. That was awesome.
Sorry. Okay. Thank
Can
you.
we got to transcribe that? I think we should put that as on a
I could have an exhibition.
review.
Get me a space.
All right. Well, I'll say
Thank
thanks so
you.
much for everyone for coming and all your questions and stuff. And thanks so much, George.
Thank you,
The
George.
exhibition's
Genuinely.
absolutely incredible. Thank you.
Cheers, Andrew.
More.